Hello, Jennifer, and anyone else at PowerApps 911 that might be viewing this. Really appreciate the opportunity to show what I've been able to accomplish not only in PowerApps but with the Power Platform over the last 3 years at First Choice Cabinetry. Um, Quickly about my background, I came into this position mostly doing database administration, architecture, a little bit of data governance. So very steeped in the data side of things, mostly in SQL Server over the years, both in Azure and on-prem. So was very excited to discover Power Apps and see Dataverse and understand how all that fit together. Um, the problem we were solving, our company sells cabinets. We have sales designers that will design a kitchen. They've got to order everything that they need, the cabinets, the hardware, the different components. And then that kitchen gets installed, and we have some service trips back out to get stuff right. And then we bill for it. So that's our general business model. The company, when I came in, had been using a combination of smart sheets and some Excel files and kind of a hodgepodge of things that didn't talk together really well. They had a back end ERP, but they were only using it for accounting. So it was very disjointed, very hard to understand and get a full picture of what was going on. And our back end users are schedulers who are working with our customers to get people out on the right time frame, purchasers to go purchase all the different components, um, and then a handful of other people, technicians and service managers and that type of thing. So the problem was to try to come up with a single solution that gave us what we needed to be able to manage all of that. And as we started looking into that, I discovered Power Apps and started looking at that and understanding better how it would work. We were so excited about it that it actually drove our decision to pick Microsoft Business Central as our back end ERP because the theory was it'd be easy to connect to it, and it has been pretty easy to connect those two systems. So that's the problem we were trying to solve. I'll give you a really quick high level. So again, I'm a data guy, so I started to approach this with an ER diagram and trying to understand what the business needed and how things were laid out. So very high level. We have job sites. These are basically the houses. And so the houses have rooms and floors and room sections. Um, as the project gets put together, that project has quotes and then those tie to the rooms. And this is where some of this starts to get fleshed out with the actual details of what we need to order and how we manage that through. Most of this is just other ancillary data that we needed. But all of this that you're seeing, I put together in Dataverse and did it what I would consider the right way with the right relationships. So built a good foundation underneath the application to start building and working on. We initially did. Um, I'll show you that really quickly. We started actually building a mobile app. Theory being that the sales designers would use this in the field to mainly document the job site information. So it would give them the ability to record a GPS location, some information about the home. They could upload photos. Again, this is that floor and room section being described out. Um, had some other functionality around maintaining subdivision information and then contacts and accounts. Unfortunately, the management had me going in this direction. Sales designers didn't really end up seeing a need for it. So while it's functional, it's just really never been used to any large degree. But Canvas app on a mobile platform, and it was working on phones, and it was pretty fun to learn how to do that. Um, our main app though is Evolve, and this is a combination of. I've already got it open here. A model-driven app with a couple of Canvas components, custom pages that we needed. We wanted to try to leverage the model-driven side as much as we could for to save time. I keep saying we. I had one junior developer that I hired on, and He learned pretty much everything he needed to know through Shane's videos. But we took this approach where we wanted to use model driven as much as possible, which is what you see here. This is the job site information, and so similar to what we saw on the ER model, this job site has floors and rooms, and the room sections have um, are stored under here. So this kind of defines that layout of the structure. We did it this way because we wanted to be able to reuse these. So we come back in 2 years and we want to do another project with these the same customer. We've got everything here that we need to be able to do that. Use some tabs here. These are the jobs that are tied to that, so you can get to it that way. Um, Also have a jobs tab, and so this is where you would link the work that's going to be done to a job site and start to fill out that information. I'll show you a little bit of some of these. I may jump over into our QA environment to actually, I don't want to mess up anything in production, but we'll look at this one as an example. So general job information, there's that job site that populates automatically depending on how you come in. Um, Customer was interesting. So we we don't want our sales designers poaching each other's business. So we do have this tab here for customers, and you can see every sales designer can see every customer and who the sales designer is that's assigned to them, this owner. But when they get to actually put in jobs in, they can't. Um, they can only add a customer that is assigned to them. Um, so we had to do some fun stuff behind the scenes with the queries, but again, all in the model driven part of that. We have a group called Edge, and Edge are not sales designers, but they're people who can help the sales designers, but the sales designers get charged for that. So Edge needed the ability to see all the customers because they could be working for any of the sales designers. So we had to create this basically the same uh, form. This is the one the sales designers see. Edge sees this one, which takes that restriction away for the customer uh, only being able to be seen by the owner. Um, they fill out general information here. There's some things that they can put in that would get passed over to accounting. They can put in a customer PO. This information comes back from Business Central once we submit the job. They add files here that they would need to support that job. And then they would create a quote. And so this job's already been submitted. So once the job's been submitted, you can't go in and edit this quote anymore. Um, we block that out because they can't change it once it's been submitted. They can run this quote summary, which just a report that we built that's looking at that data that they put in for that. Once they get, I tell you what, let me jump over and show you kind of what the quoting tool looks like. Yeah, this is a good one in our test environment. So when they edit a quote or when they create a quote to begin with, this is the Canvas app that comes up. And we've got a couple of galleries that are dependent on each other. And so you add a room section first, and that room section is where you get your sale price. And then that room section gets room details that you can add to it as well. And this would be, where you would define the cabinets, in this case, the installer fees. This is hardware. And depending on what they put in here, it's the logic behind the scenes shows the screen in different ways. So, for example, if I was to add a new cabinet product line, um, and create that, you're going to see a section for doing door style information and frames and all the different things you need for that. Um, if I did a new one for hardware, really for any of the other types, you get to pick a vendor for this. You didn't get to pick a vendor for the other one. You don't put in a cost because we're going to calculate that for you. So when you go in and look at that hardware that I just added, this is going to show you a list of items over here, and you can add new items to this. It's going to ask you for a SKU, quantity, actual cost, um, that type of information, and it'll add it here. All this is stored in the back end, and most of this information is going to end up becoming a purchase order in our ERP system. But that's a general idea of kind of what I built on the quote side. This keeps a running total of sale price, total cost. This use tax changes depending from sales tax to use tax depending on what type of fulfillment type we've got going on for this one. We have to pay sales tax if we're not doing the installation. So once all this is in and correct, I'll show this in QA as well because we can dive in. So they can submit this job, and so this one's already been submitted, but let me find one that hasn't been. That one has been too. Let me go over to production. Look for one there. See if we can find one that hasn't been submitted. So this should be a good one. So this submit button allows them to convert that job, and that just changes the status on the job. When that status changes, that button goes away. That's why you weren't seeing it on the other ones. And there is a back end Power Automate job flow that is waiting and looking for those statuses to change, and then it'll pick up and run that. And this is kind of what that looks like. Here we get some failures from time to time. These are back-end SQL Server issues with BC that our vendors working with Microsoft on haven't got solved yet. But we'll dig into this one, and I'll show you a little bit what this Power Automate script looks like. There was a lot of work that went into this. These are all API calls into back-end of Microsoft Business Central. A lot of them are standard calls, but we did have to get some custom things done because of some of the custom fields that we were pushing through and some things like that. Does a lot of checking and initializing up front. That's what most of this is. Then it starts to actually pull data from Dataverse for these. This was something that actually got passed in from the job initiation. Once it's kind of gathered that initial information, it'll create the job. This is a call to Business Central. We're using environment variables to control QA versus prod on these. This is one of those custom ones. It's Journey Team as our vendor, so they had to do a custom API set for that. Populate all the fields that we need. Again, just doing the general upfront stuff. This is the sales header and updating that. We go get all those room sections. So now we're starting to dive into what the quote information had. And we start to do some loops. This is like the biggest loop that we have in here. It does some initial gathering information up front, and then it falls into these loops within a loop, and it starts to walk through and create purchase orders and then create lines on those purchase orders, update comments, does a lot of different information on that. But this basically loops for each type. There's cabinets, countertops, glass, custom. Those are the different types of quote components that we were looking at a while ago. Installations handled a little differently. We gather all that up across the entire quote and put it in as one PO, not broken up the way they can. Hardware is interesting because we do a similar thing with hardware where we gather all of that for a vendor and put it together. So there's some different things that we did within here and some code that's written behind